Hey guys, it's me Jenny and welcome to a very late / early in the morning movie review, my movie review series. Wait, you haven't seen that? And yeah, I'm very tired. This is a week late, it's been a really busy week. But this week's movie that I watched for the first time ever in full was The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which yeah, I talked about it before a while ago. Me and my sisters spent a lot of time before uni trying to watch every single Disney movie, but every now and then one of us wouldn't be free, so the others would watch the film without them, and that happened with Hunchback of Notre Dame for me. They watched it without me and then never got round to watching it with me again, so this is my first time watching it in full, and I've seen a few clips here and there. But I've never ever watched it in full, and in fact of the clips I've seen only a very small amount of clips, to the point that I didn't even know what the voices sounded like. I've never heard any of the songs before. I didn't really have an idea of what the actual visual aesthetic was for this film. I'd seen, I think I had a picture book of this film when I was very young. I think it might have been maybe a press and sound book. It was when I was very young, possibly. But I didn't really have an idea of the actual aesthetics of this movie. I always think of this as kind of a Disney classic in the same sort of generation as Snow White, Sleeping Beauty type age, where it was relatively simple animation, not very smooth. But actually this is one of the more recent side of Disney. It felt very, Hercules type level of smooth, very fluid movements, both in terms of character movements and camera movements. Multiple layers going on each frame, beautiful colours. I really enjoyed the fact that this is a very idealistic but very adult Disney film, in that they're dealing with a lot of very complex political issues, and I definitely would recommend a lot of people watching this movie on the run up to the American election, because it does study a lot of topics, including the segregation of cultures and it's a very idealistic film, the inclusion of people of different abilities and different physical traits, the hypocrisy of religion and the hypocrisy of people in power versus their practices. I think it's a very interesting film to watch in the political context of the modern era. Definitely in terms of also feminism and women's right, and the concept of sexuality versus consent, because that definitely comes into play. And one of the things I heard a lot about this film before watching it, there's something that I'd heard kind of a lot of things I felt in the byline, from people discussing it or being culturally aware of this film, is that it's got a lot of relatively sexual content, it's got a lot of very dark themes and a lot of hell-based themes, and I can't deny the fact that there is a lot of religious allegory in this. There's a lot of very dark religious symbolism and context in terms of witch trials and just generally the oppression of people, not necessarily within the church, but using the power of the church as a means of segregation, which is interesting because this film actually separates the villain from the church proper. It's a very interesting way of looking at culture and religion, and it's a very well spun tale. It's very interesting as well that I noticed that this is one of the few Disney animated classics that's not being turned into a live action film at the moment, touch wood. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was not one of those ones that I'd naturally be drawn to. It's probably not one that I'd watch again and again. I've heard a lot of people say that, they think Quasimodo should have ended up with, it's 3:30 in the morning, Esmeralda. A lot of people think that Quasimodo should have ended up with Esmeralda, but I feel like it's actually, the story is a very good story of both romantic love and platonic love. And the concept that people who are maybe not ready for a romantic relationship, finding comfort in genuine platonic friendship and finding contentment in platonic friendship first. That's not to say there's not potential for romantic love later, but I'm a fond believer in equal relationships, and Esmeralda clearly has watching. If I watched this as a child, maybe I would have been like, oh, Quasimodo should have ended up with Esmeralda. But watching this from an adult context, I'm very much in the frame of reference that there is obvious chemistry between Esmeralda and, I can't remember his name, the commander. There is obvious charisma there. There is banter. There is puns. There is I think some minor innuendo. There is definite chemistry between those characters. They're both people of the world. They both have funny sidekicks. They're both very different, but they have a very similar attitude to life. And that in itself, when there's mutual respect, and there is mutual respect, he's like, one hell of a woman, and banter, that is something that has potential to blossom into a natural romantic relationship. With Quasimodo, he's grown up with the potential to not really have any real relationships, and starting from that base point, I think jumping into a romantic relationship wouldn't be healthy. Probably for him, possibly for whoever he would be interested in. I really don't think a romantic relationship would have worked with them, so I'm very satisfied with that conclusion. And I haven't watched the sequel, but I feel like if once he's got to that safe place where he has and can maintain healthy, natural friendships, and feels like he might want to progress towards a romantic relationship, sure, but I don't feel like Esmeralda and he would have suited, and I remember definitely hearing a lot as a child that Quasimodo and Esmeralda should have ended up together. And I really, after watching this film, I don't think that works. The sexual aspects of this film, very interestingly handled. As I said, there's definitely sexual presence versus consent is a very interesting theme in this that you definitely don't often get discussed in a Disney film, which is very satisfyingly done, very well done. I really enjoyed that. I like when you can see lots of combinations of themes between this film and other Disney films. As I said, it's very idealistic, very dark, can definitely be enjoyed more. I think I enjoyed watching this more as an adult than I would have done as a child, both because the climax is very frightening, which I wouldn't have enjoyed as a child. Obviously within the context of a Disney film it's frightening, it's not exactly, you know, a slasher film, but my point stands. And again, the relationship aspects of them, if I watched them as a child, I probably wouldn't have got the same attitude that I get from watching as an adult. And my camera ran out of battery, so if I wasn't tired before, now I freaking am. So my last thought is, the thing that I was saying was I found it funny trying to work out whether or not the gargoyles were actually the only magical thing in this non-magical Disney, or whether or not they were actually just part of his imagination for being someone who has lived alone pretty much the whole life. So I was interested about that. And yeah, so this isn't really a review, it's just basically my first impressions of the movie, and I enjoyed it. Probably not in my top 5, wouldn't watch it again unless I was in a particular mood to watch it, but I did find it very visually interesting, very story interesting, and if I'm in the mood for a feel-good film, maybe I'll watch the sequel at some point, but not high on my list, but I'm glad I watched it. It's nice to have that ticked off my list of experiences. Thank you for watching, feel free to comment. I need to sleep. See you all next week, aka as soon as I've watched my next movie I will film it, and lots of videos coming your way. Thank you for watching. Bye guys. Sleep time. So much sleep.